Amen. Let's put those hands together. Let's just celebrate Jesus. I would certainly invite you to join me looking at the book of Luke, Luke chapter 5. Luke chapter 5 as we pick up where we were on last week in our gathering. Luke chapter 5. We'll share from Luke chapter 5, verses 1 through 11, from the New King James Version. So it was, as the multitude pressed about him to hear the word of God, that he stood by the lake of Gennesaret and saw two boats standing by the lake. But the fishermen had gone from them, and they were washing their nets. Verse 3, then he got into one of the boats, which was Simon's, and answered him to put him out a little from the land. And he had sat down and taught the multitude from the boat. When he had stopped speaking, he said to Simon, launch out into the deep and let down your nets for a catch. But Simon answered and said to him, he says, Master, we have toiled all night and caught nothing. Nevertheless, at your word, I will let down the net. And when they had done this, they had caught a great number of fish, and their net, get this, was breaking. So they signaled to their partners in the other boat to come and help them. And they came and filled both the boats so that they began to sink. When Simon Peter saw this, he fell down at Jesus' knees, saying, depart from me, for I am a sinful man, O Lord. For he and all who were with him were astonished at the catch of fish which they had taken. And so also were James and John, the sons of Zebedee, who were partners with Simon. And Jesus says to Simon, do not be afraid. From now on, you will catch men. So when they had brought their boats to land, they forsook all, and followed him. Amen. You may be seated. As we're still talking from the thought, it is not what I thought it would be. It's not what I thought it would be. As we're in part 2 of I don't think I caught it. I don't think I caught it. We shared last week about the pattern that we see of the life and the ministry of Jesus, that whenever there is these moments of extraordinary releases for God to do something great in the life of Jesus, there's these precursors that we witness, which we identified as opposition. That whenever God was going to do something great with the life of Jesus, there was always first a moment in ministry of opposition. And then immediately following the opposition of dealing with demons and dealing with Satan himself, there was the moments of opportunity. And then right after the moments of opportunity, there is a reoccurrence again of opposition. Then when you see him go through this cycle of opposition, there is a reoccurrence again of another opportunity. But the common thread that we see is that this is a continuum of, with opportunities, there is always this leader of opposition. There is always demonic activity that precedes the opportunities of what God can do. Before there was miracles that occurred, there was always opposition from demonic activity. So whenever we see these cycles of our own life, we notice the pattern that whenever there is these great moments that God uses us, in the moments that God does some great things, there is always these cycles of opposition. It's these cycles where we're constantly facing opposing moments from the enemy. These are the moments where we find ourselves questioning whether or not should I be doing this. These are the moments that I'm questioning my ability. These are the moments that I'm even wondering why I'm in the place that I am in. And it is simply because we're facing an adversary that is trying to derail us before we can get to our moments of opportunity. If we can look back at the patterns of our life, everybody's life has these moments and these pockets of ebbs and flows, these peaks and these valleys. But whenever we get to the peak, there was always that valley first. And whenever there is this valley, that we always recognize that we can see these moments of tension, we can see these moments of frustration, struggle, stress, anxiety. We can always find all of these moments where we find ourselves going through the most grit moments of our life. And then we find ourselves later coming out of it, finding ourselves going to an apex moment in our lives, in our ministry, in our impact, using our resources, touching lives. You can always see the pattern of our lives going up and down. But then you also find, not only with these ebbs and flows, these ups and downs that we go through in life, you see the pattern of Jesus, that not only does he come for eternal life, but he also comes to give us an example for living. And in his moments of giving us an example for living, everything that he does becomes a teachable moment. It's never just what would Jesus do for us, but rather it is examining his life to identify what did Jesus do. What did he do? What did he do? Not what would he do, what did he do? What did he do? And that's what I model my life from, so that whenever I'm going through seasons of opposition, I can look at the life of Jesus to recognize with every season of opposition where there is always a mountain in my way, where there's always a stumbling block in my way, where there's always seemed like something's trying to keep me back. What is the pattern that I see through Scripture? There is always, following these moments of opposition, whenever I'm dealing with satanic activity, there is always another season that follows right behind it, where God is showing me there is also an opportunity for ministry and miracles every single time. And so with this, there is the height of his ministry through these moments of opposition and opportunity. That every time he deals with Satan, the ministry grows. Every time he deals with opposition, his ministry grows even further. And you find himself staying not just in Nazareth, where he grew up, but he moves to Galilee. Not just where people who would tolerate him, but he moves to a place where people will celebrate him. He stays in a lane of ministry where people want to hear what he has to say, and they're looking to receive everything that is good that's coming out of his life. And you see, by the time he is operating and moving through Galilee, the crowd grows. Not just to see miracles, not just to see the stuff that he's going to do, but they're also inclining to hear what he has to say. And so he does one of his greatest moments of sharing through teaching, and he's standing right by the lake of Gennesaret, or we would know it today as the Sea of Galilee or the Lake of Galilee. And as he is there at this lake, there is a multitude of people along the shore, not just waiting to see a miracle, but these people have showed up to hear what God has to say through him. They're waiting to hear what God has to say. And one of the biggest challenges of our culture today is that our people have lost the desire to even hear what God has to say. And so for them, they are standing at the shore. What is God saying to us in this moment? And he teaches even there. But as he is teaching, as we shared on last week, standing at the shore with the water behind him and people in front of him, he sees at a distance fishermen washing their nets, mending their nets, packing up their equipment, getting ready to go. Interesting enough, he sees this as an opportunity, as a teachable moment. As I'm teaching you things about the kingdom of God, as I'm teaching you life principles that will cause you to be victorious over the enemy, over demonic activity, as I'm teaching you that miracles are real, as I'm teaching you things that are on the heart and the mind of God, he also sees people who are discouraged, who are distraught, who feel defeated. He sees the individuals there who are getting ready to go in. Fishermen who come back with no fish. Trained master fishermen who had been at the water and they came back empty-handed. fishermen who come back with no fish. He looks at individuals who see that they're skilled at what they're supposed to do, and they come back empty-handed. People who got good hearts, good intentions, come back empty-handed. Gave it all out on the sea, but come back with nothing in their hands. And he uses this with the crowd as a teachable moment. He moves from the multitude, goes over to the boats. As they're packing up, getting ready to go back home, and we said this last week of significance, they were getting ready to go back home and tell everybody, we failed for today. There is nothing to eat today. There is nothing for me to give for you today. Yes, I'm a professional master fisherman, but my professionalism and my mastery of this craft has us nothing. We have nothing. Today, you're going to have an attitude with me today. Today, I have to tell you and look you in your eyes, I failed at something that used to come easy for me. But he used this as a teachable moment. As he moves over to where the boats are, he says, let's get back in the boat. And he moves away just a little bit from the shore. Begins teaching again. But he wants him, Peter, to stay in the boat. And Peter's sitting there in this boat, rocking. Because for him, he's ready to go home. I've been defeated today. I have nothing to show forth all the effort, all the time that was spent, all the labor that has been exhausted. I have nothing to show for my efforts today. I'm just ready to go home and deal face to face with my family and tell them I failed. Jesus doesn't just get in his boat by himself. He wants Simon Peter in the boat with him, because the boat represents his place of being defeated. The first time you were on the boat by yourself. This time, I want to be on the boat with you. At the same place you felt like you were defeated. In the same place that you felt like you were defeated, I'm going to start teaching from the same defeated place that you're in. So from the defeated place, Jesus is teaching to the multitude, but also teaching Peter. Teaching the multitudes, but also teaching Peter. And what he's getting ready to do is make a shift. Now, as the multitude is looking at Jesus in the boat with Simon Peter sitting there looking defeated, Jesus is getting ready to show everybody about his life. Interesting enough, the multitudes been standing at the shores looking at your life. But what they had been noticing most of the time was the fact of the life that you didn't have Jesus on board. Now they're even inclined even more to see what happens now that you have Jesus in your life, even when you feel defeated. So in this moment with Jesus on board, after he has taught, now he begins to have a one-on-one with everybody, with all eyes on Peter in his disposition of feeling deflated and discouraged and defeated. Now he has one-on-one lessons. Now we're having a moment of mentorship, just me and you. He then turns and gives him a command. He says to him, in the Greek, epanago, means to launch, means to, now they're already from the shore. They're already from the shore. But he tells them, launch, epanago, launch out to the deep. And when we get to the deep, my next set of instructions is to let down your net. The same one you packed up and you were done with. You have already reserved in your mind, you have done all you're going to do for the day. And I'm asking you, I'm telling you, the same thing that you packed up, the same thing that you put away, I'm asking you to pull it back out, go right back out to a place that you were not at before, and let down your net. Let down your net. Interesting, he says here, if you're going to write anything, I want you to write this down. He says launch, meaning to thrust. Thrust. For you to go where you have not been. It's going to take some strength and some effort to go to a place you have not been yet. Now, this is challenging for him because Jesus is known as a carpenter. And the carpenter is telling a master fisherman how to do his job. He's telling him how to survive. I'm telling you how to get what you need, even though you feel like you've been trained professionally to do what you do. But even though with all of your training, with all of your expertise, with all of your knowledge, with all of your experience, it got you nothing. And there'll be seasons in your life with having all of these credentials, without knowing all the things that you know, having all the experiences you've had, sometimes you still can come up empty-handed. And so my challenge to you, Peter, is for you to move away further by launching, thrusting yourself to a place you have never been before. I want you to not just be floating over here by the shore, because this is where you were before. I want you to go to a place outside of your comfort zone. I want you to go to a place in your relationships. I want you to go a different place in your prayer life. I want you to go a different place in your finances, in your health, a different place that you have never been before that requires you to come outside of your comfort zone. See, when the fishermen would go, Peter and his crew, when they would do it at nighttime. Because most of the fish of that sea would migrate near the shores in shallow water at nighttime because there is no sun. It's much more cooler there. So there will be a large amount of fish for them. They don't even have to work hard to pull up those fish. All they had to do was drop their nets, give it some time, let the fish feel comfortable, yank the net up, and they got enough to put in their boat and to go back in the house. You can do this on automatic pilot. Every single day, I can just go to the same spot at the same time, expect the same results. But what happens when what I used to do don't work anymore? There will be a season in my life that I'm continuously doing things on automatic pilot, and all of a sudden, abruptly, it ain't working like it used to. It used to be like clockwork. It used to be calculated. It used to make sense. Now, all of a sudden, I follow the same pattern that I've been doing, but now all of a sudden in my life, some things ain't making sense. Something has occurred different, and I don't know how to deal with different. This different that has occurred makes me feel like a failure. This different makes me feel like I got to go through life empty-handed. This failure here makes me go back before people and tell them I couldn't do what used to come natural for me. I'm not doing what I used to do, and I don't even know how to explain why. It's at the same place. I got the same boat. I got the same net. I came with the same crew. We went at the same time, but I'm coming back different this time, empty-handed. You can do the same thing every single day, week after week, go to the same job, go to the same home, go to the same refrigerator, drive the same car, have the same patterns that you watch the same shows on Monday, you watch the same shows that you do every Tuesday, you watch the same thing that you do on Thursday, and on Sunday night or early Sunday, you can get power at a certain time. You can have your same pattern, but all of a sudden, it may be disrupted and you'll feel like a failure. Here's the challenge. You can't explain why. There are times where there's a pattern shifts and you can't explain why. You just know that things are different. You just realize I did all that I'm supposed to do and all of a sudden it just ain't working right. I have no explanation for it. It ain't going to make sense when I share it to other people. Because they're going to try to figure out, well, what did you do different? I didn't do anything different. Well, did you go anywhere different? I didn't go anywhere different. Who did you have with you that you didn't have before? I had the same old people that I've been to. What did you wear? It's the same thing I've been wearing every time I go to work. Well, what? I don't understand. Did you take a different route when you went to the work? Did you take a different route when you went to the lake? No. I went to the same spot that I always dropped the net, but all of a sudden when I pulled it up, it was nothing there. I don't understand. I get paid every 2 weeks, but every time it's time for me to swipe my card, I only got a little bit of money. I don't understand. I know what I'm supposed to get, but all of a sudden when I look in my pockets, I don't have what I'm supposed to have. Things just got different. And then sometimes we just feel like we failed. We just feel like we failed. What do you do when you're in relationships and then you have a pattern? But the pattern shifts. And you feel like you failed. I feel like I ain't done nothing different. I'm the same Simon Peter that I've been. I don't understand why this ain't working now. It used to where it worked last week. It just worked the other night. If it worked last night, you know what I mean? It worked. But all of a sudden, it just ain't working no more. I don't understand why there is a shift. But now that Jesus is on board, He's not massaging me in my place of feeling defeated. He's giving me a command. It is declarative. He's not asking him, do you want to change the location where you fish? Do you think you want to do something different? Declarative. Eye, launch, thrust, use your strength to push away from shallow waters. See, before when you used to do this, you can get out the boat and stand in the water and get everything that you needed. You depended on you. Even if you wanted to get out the boat, you felt like you had enough power and strength to do this on your own. I want to change the environment because this has now become not just shallow water for you, but it became your comfort zone. I don't want you to go to a place where you can't stand up in it. You need to go to a place where this area is over your head. You can't sustain yourself in this area. You're going to have to move out of your comfort zone to do this. Now, there's this dichotomy where you're getting commands from God. Here's the challenge that we have in our humanity. We're making decisions based upon what makes sense to us. And there's this opposing view that we have. I know what I'm doing in comparison to what God is telling me. And if the truth be told, we have wrestled with this too many times where we choose our own instincts over than the invitation that God extends to us. And when he tells us to do something, because it don't make sense to us, I'm going to go with what makes sense to me. And so staying in shallow water, following the pattern that I've been doing consistently, because it worked for me. And now, when I realize that my way really don't work, I don't really know what to do. Because now he's challenging me to go to a place that I can't step out on my own. He's challenging me to go to a place I can't stand up on my own anymore. And in fact, if I step out, I'm going to sink. In fact, I cannot even have adequate and accurate depth perception because even if I'm looking down in the water, shallow looks just like deep. So I don't know where I'm really standing. So I realize once I get to a certain place, I can't step out anymore. At this place, it's going to require trust. So the first thing that he does, he says, listen, I got to change your position. Launch out to the deep. You're so accustomed to being in your comfort zone in life. You're so accustomed to leaning on your own professionalism and your craft and your training and your experience and your know-how. I'm challenging you to do something different. Your position has got to change. I'm not asking you to launch further out in the shallow waters. I'm challenging you to go to a place you have not fished yet, which is deep. Because fishermen knew if I'm going to catch something, I ain't going to catch it out in the deep. In fact, they had problems going out to the deep because they can only extend their net, but for so low. That's why they like to stay in shallow, because if I lose that net, it's gone. I'm challenging you to go to a place that feels so uncomfortable, you feel like you're going to risk it all being in that place. It has to be all or nothing with me moving forward. I'm challenging you to trust me to go to a place that you're going to have to lay it all out, not even realizing how deep you got to go. Just trust that it's deep. See, you can't measure deep. It's a metaphor. Metaphor for how high or how low or the depth of it. You can't measure deep. It's a metaphor for distance without a specific accurate amount. You can't really measure it. So I'm inviting you to a place that you can't even find the bottom of where I want you to go. You can't calculate where I want you to go in your relationships, in your finances, in your prayer life, in your devotional time with me. Just trust me and go deep. How deep do I have to go? How much do I have to try to do this until I tell you to stop? But I can't. I don't want to go. I don't want to go to a place where I can't feel the bottom. Then you don't really want anything different. But while over here in this defeated place. Take this defeated boat over there to the deep. Go defeat it. He didn't say, let's try again tomorrow. The best time to deal with problems is when they occur. The instinct of humanity is to give it time. The instinct is to retreat. The instinct is to do just like Peter. Wrap it up. Call it a day. Try on tomorrow. Or when I feel like it. Jesus, no, get back in this boat. Let me finish my lesson plan. He teaches, tells them, launch out, declarative, launch. Thrust means go quickly. We were already drifting, but I'm telling you to put everything that you got into this and move quickly right back to the place that you felt defeated. But when you feel defeated, I want you to go deeper. See, the moments for you to experience a miracle in your life is always centered around the places that you've never been and for you to go deeper even when you feel defeated. See, I don't want to go anywhere when I feel defeated. And he's challenging him to do the opposite of what their flesh is telling him to do. I want you to launch. The last thing my flesh feels like doing is thrusting or even exerting any strength when I feel defeated. When I feel defeated, I just want to be by myself. When I feel defeated, I just need some time. When I feel defeated, I just need to disconnect. Go and go now. Go deeper. Go deeper. Go deeper. You were comfortable over there. We need to go over there. In his mind, here's the duality. What God said, what makes sense. What God said, what makes sense. What God said, what makes sense. In his mind, what makes sense is we never catch anything over there. Everything that I need, it's over there. You're sending me to a place where there is no provision. I won't be sustained. And in fact, people are looking at they're still on the shore looking at my life. And you're commanding me to go to a place that I've never been, to pull up something that I don't think exists over there, and you expecting me to believe you in this moment? Let me say again, they're watching my life. You already got on board, and you're already drawing attention to me because you with me. The fact that I'm associating with you, I got eyes on me. Just because you in my boat, just because we're in proximity with one another, there's eyes on me now. And they're watching how I'm going to handle this. Now you're putting pressure on me because now you're making this lesson not just about me, but whatever happens in this occurrence, it's going to be an impact to those who look at my life from a distance. The challenging thing is we left my other partners at the shore. It would be better if I had some other people here with me to handle this journey of going deeper. But now it's just me and you, and I got to go by myself. I have to go deeper. Not with my crew. Not with my loved ones, but you're calling me to go deeper by myself. And they're watching me. And this can turn out two ways. I can come out, maybe catching a few snappers, depending on season, maybe some rock. There ain't no salmon out here. Or this can end in a way that I come back again, empty-handed. How am I going to look if I give this one more try? How would you look if you give it one more try, even though you felt defeated the first time? How would you look if you go back to the same thing that caused disappointment? If I do this again and I don't catch any, I'm going to feel like day one. And I don't want to look like nobody. I ain't nobody's fool. I ain't nobody's fool. You got one time to disappoint me. I ain't going back for it. I'm not signing up for it twice. And we got little cliches. First time, shame on me, or whatever, how it go. Shame on you. Well, you know what you say. And our humanity does not want a repeat occurrence of being embarrassed or feeling like a fool. And this is all happening in milliseconds, where he has to make quick decisions. Because Jesus said, look, you need to go. You need to launch. You need to go deeper. And when you go deep, you need to let down your nets. When you get there, not only do I want to change your position from being in your comfort zone, I'm not asking you to do things how you used to do it. You're going to have to do things different. I'm on board now. Stop calculating life based upon how you used to do things. Those days are over with. I am on board now. You're going to have to do things totally different. And it's not based upon your comfort. It's based upon my command. And I'm telling you, if you want to have success, if you want to have provision, if you want to have overflow, if you want a miracle in your life, you're not going to get it being comfortable. You're going to have to go to a place you have not been before in your prayer life. You're going to have to go to another place that you have never been in your devotion. You're going to have to do something that you have never done with me or anybody else. In fact, you're going to have to go by yourself. Your position has to change. You cannot expect to receive what you've been receiving staying at the same place. It's just not going to happen. You're going to have to change your position. And when you change your position and when you get to a place that you're moving deeper, then I will give you instruction for you to let down your nets. Not only do you change your position, now you're going to have to learn how to change your posture. Because you can't go deeper standing up. You're going to have to learn how to bend over. Some things you're going to have to bend to. It's going to require compromise in you standing. You're going to have to learn in your posture to humble yourself and say, it's not about me anymore. It's not about what makes sense to me anymore. It's not about my common sense, but rather it's about his command over my life. I'm going to have to change my posture. My position has to change. What I'm looking for no longer exists in my comfort zone. It's no longer there. It's no longer there. The fish has migrated. It's no longer there anymore. It's no longer at the appointed place, at the calculated time. It has changed. My position has got to change, but also my posture. Some things I'm just going to have to bend to. Let it down. Let it down. Let it down. And the reason he's telling them to let it down because he's been clutching it. He ain't want to let it go. You don't want to go deeper. And then there's some things that have disappointed you. You don't want to let it go. And I know that you don't want to let it go. And Jesus knows you don't want to let it go. Because you keep holding on to it. You keep looking at it. See, he's saying, let the nets go. Let it down. Let it down into the water for a catch. But he didn't catch it. Let it down. I tried this before and I ain't catch nothing. Because you didn't catch what you were supposed to be doing. Before you dropped your nets. Now I'm telling you to let it down. You're going to have to participate in what I want to do for you. You don't just throw it out there. You're going to have to let it down. The depth of where I want you to be is totally different from where you were in your comfort zone. You got to let those nets down. Now, before I move further, let me ask you this. What is your net? What is it that you've been using to create safety, security, and provision for your life? Because whatever it is that you found safety in, whatever it is that you have been giving up on, that you wanted to pack it up and say, I'll do it another day, whatever that is, it got holes in it. Just let that sink in for a minute. Whatever your net has been, at best, it got holes in it. It got holes in it. And could it be in your comfort zone, at your best effort, at trying to do right, at trying to give it your all? Because he says to him in the next statement, Master, we toiled all night and have caught nothing. We have toiled, we worked Greek word for that means we've worn ourselves out and labored and caught nothing. Maybe the net that I had, things were falling. It's not that I didn't work hard at it. Maybe just some things that were together, because the nets were together. Yeah. They weren't torn. The nets were together. Maybe just some things fell through the cracks. Yeah. Right. And see, what I thought I needed, it fell through. What I've been longing for, what I thought I was able to pull up, it was falling through. What I had been desiring, what I had worked for so long, it was starting to fall through the cracks. I had it all together, but things were still falling apart. Have you ever been working at something consistently that it wore you out, but things still just fell through the holes? No? Maybe? A little bit? Somehow? All right. You can just nod your head. If you don't want to say amen, you can just nod your head. I'll take that. Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. Some things fell through the crack. But interesting enough, he says, I have toiled all night, and we have caught nothing. He says, nevertheless, at thy word, we'll lay it down. I used to get excited, and before when I would preach it, I would say, oh my God, he operated in faith, because he said, we've toiled all night, we've labored all night, and we have caught nothing. Nevertheless, at your word. And God, he operated in obedience. And I would shout off the fact, he would, oh my God, he did what God told him to do. But that's one part of it. That's one part. Because it's this one word that I had overlooked. It was this one word that was silent to me when I read it. And I read it so fast, I just passed over it. He says, nevertheless, at thy word. It is the timing of God. See, it's not enough to just say, I'm going to obey God's word. It's not the what, it's also the when. So when he tells me to do it, that's when I need to do it. Not just saying, oh, I'm going to obey it. But I ain't obeying it today. I'm going to obey it when I feel like it. Not obeying it when he tells you to obey it is still disobedience. He says, nevertheless, at thy word. He's doing it when God says so. Not when it's convenient for him. He says, I'm doing it at thy word. The moment you told me to do it, I'm moving. How many opportunities have we missed because we didn't move when God says move? And we did it based upon our own pride. When it felt right to me, and when I felt like some of the people got tired of standing watching my life, when some walked away, then I'm going to do it because there ain't a much larger crowd anymore. See, people are watching to see whether or not you're going to fail. They're watching to see what you're going to do. Will things work out? Will things fall through your nets, even though it got holes in it? But what was interesting is that as he did it, the Bible says all of a sudden, when they did what he told them to do, all of a sudden the nets begin to break. The nets didn't break when it got back onto the boat. The breaking occurred beneath the surface. Wow. Amen. Wow. The nets represent what I thought I needed to hold things together. My net represents what I loved, what I needed to sustain me, to take care of me and my family, and to move us forward. It represented my love. It represents my passion. It represents my giftedness. It represents so many things concerning my life. And it is in this moment, before it didn't have the capacity to hold things together, but now all of a sudden, not only is it not holding things, it's starting to break. But it doesn't break when it's on shore, when everyone can see it. It breaks beneath the surface. And what God does when I obey him by going deeper, he does a work of breaking me beneath the surface. Now everybody is watching what he pulls on surface. But what people cannot see is what is happening beneath the surface. I wish y'all heard me on that one. And so what God has been doing the whole time is to try to get you to a place that you go deeper than you've ever been, not just so that you can impress people, but so that I can break some things beneath the surface. We're going to stop there. I've been getting 50 million signals from the back to tell me to wrap it up, so we'll stop. We'll stop. So we'll pick up on next week. All heads bowed.